With these words, Jesus prays, "May they be one, as you, Father, and I are one." This prayer of Jesus can lead us to all kinds of confusion. What is this oneness that Jesus is speaking about? What does it lead us to? There is often this wrong interpretation of what Jesus means. The most common mistake, I think, is to imagine that in being one, Jesus is inviting us or commanding us to become the same. And this is often how we interpret these words, because when we notice how our society engages in debates and discussions in politics, in religion, it's so easy to see that the primary cause of pain is that we engage by trying to convince the other side to be exactly like me, to think like me, to pray like me, to believe like me. And this limits our ability to actually be one. It actually pushes us further apart. It has a way of approaching this in kind of a militant way of converting everyone to my politics, my ideas, my way of life. But Jesus cannot mean that oneness that he is calling us to is this kind of violent approach in which we engage with each other in politics, in family and religion. There has to be a better way, and it's clear from the example of Jesus and the words of Jesus that this is not what Jesus intends. In other words, Jesus does not intend us to become the same. In oneness, Jesus invites us to be connected to each other, to actually care for one another, to be connected, to be one in love, first and foremost, in divine love and desiring the good of the other. And think about that. How would that change this kind of oneness, this view of oneness as a desire for the good of the other? Actually caring for the other person. How would that change the way in which I interact with that person? Well, first it would allow me to listen deeply to the other person, to try to see the positive in what the other person believes, in what the other person shares, in what the other person's experiences are. And then perhaps share my own take on politics, religion, ideas, but always in the spirit of love, of charity, of grace. I have found this to be so true in my own life that when I approach the other person with this spirit of grace, I am approaching simply not to convince the other person to believe what I believe and know what I know, because whenever I try to do that, I seem to walk away frustrated and angry and unsettled. And we never seem to achieve this movement toward oneness or being closer with each other. But when I change my perspective and say, well, maybe Jesus invites me to approach another person and to speak to another person simply as a witness to what I believe, as a witness to what I live, not as a way of convincing them, getting them to be on my side, but simply sharing, highlighting, inviting an insight into who I am, so that the other person can get to know me, can maybe understand what I'm believing, what I'm living, how I'm viewing this world and this reality. And this, to me, is a better way of engaging with each other, because I have no expectations in an encounter with the other person other than to become closer to the other person, to continue on this journey of becoming one as Jesus and the Father are one, to actually want to be understood and to understand. There's no expectation of convincing the other person or winning an argument, but simply of sharing honestly, deeply, and respectfully. And even if we don't align on all these different non-essentials, can we at least say that our desire is to be one in love, to be one in my hope that the other person would do well, would be healthy, would be holy, would find peace, would prosper. Let us hear this prayer one more time and think about it deeply. The call to something far more beautiful than just demanding oneness on those surfaces, but something deeper. May they be one as you, Father, and I are one. This gentle and yet beautiful prayer and command of Jesus strikes at the heart of all the issues we have in our relational encounters, whether it's with family, friends, politics, religion, what have you. So I invite us to really pray for that oneness, but also to adjust our view of what that means so that we may not be fighting and striving for the wrong kind of oneness that actually separates us and draws us further apart. God bless you.